Hey, everybody. Welcome to Extra Optimistic, the podcast that brings you solutions, just not the argument of change, but actually talking about the change. As you navigate through your spiritual path or life in general, this will give you an opportunity to become who you are. Well, I'm really excited about our guest here today. Lisa Frankel is a therapist and an author, and her journey goes hand in hand with this. If you want to have a deeper understanding of bereavement and understanding loss a little bit more, this is going to be a book for you. We're also going to be joined with editor Daryl, who brought this to light as we are publishing it here on 10th House Publishers, and I can't wait to bring it to you. So we're going to bring on Daryl and Lisa here. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. I don't know if you heard that introduction or not, but I'm just beaming about this for a whole host of reasons. Of course, we want to bring up your website here to be able to connect with you at any time, whether it be questions about the book, questions about the journey, and all of that other good stuff. And we're going to be showing the cover of the book here in a second. But Lisa, welcome.
Thank you.
What inspired you to write such an amazing story and an amazing book called Treasure Hunts?
I think the inspiration came from some good friends and the idea that the experiences that I was having since my son passed away 3 years prior needed to be shared. That they wanted a compilation, something that they could hold in their hands to look back to over and over, to relate to their own life, to share in what was happening to me. And that's where it began.
Well, and I find it interesting too that like we often talk about signs from loved ones. I teach a class, signs from loved ones. And that might even been how you and I met like forever ago. And it was, to me, one of the things that people always struggle with is, well, I saw a cardinal, but what did it mean to me? And a lot of the struggle that people tend to have is that they don't conceptualize what that loss is and what could be today. You do a great job in the book with not only saying, oh my gosh, here's Maddie, but also the conceptualization. What are some of the tools and the tricks that you use to start to kind of conceptualize, like, this is Matt. This is Maddie saying to me, hi.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, I think I had a blanket understanding of signs and connection the way most people do. And I also had an awful lot of skepticism. But for me, what started happening was the over and over and over again, the same thing over and over and over again, and seeing a pattern, seeing repetition. Yeah. And it became undeniable. There was kind of like a pendulum. It became undeniable. And then I had to bring in my trust. When I start to bring in my trust and say, okay, Maddie, that you brought me those repeating numbers all day.
This is so rich. And I think it's going to lead into, part of the, not only the edit part of it, but also kind of bringing it to light. I think that the part that people struggle the most with was that trust thing. And what do you think that some of the root causes for you that made you poo-poo it? Like, what were the things? Like, was it upbringing? Was it, like, how could this be happening to me? Were you in the stages of grief? Like, what were the things that made you kind of go like, okay, I need to recognize that there's something different here. I need a different tool here. What made you shift?
In the beginning, what kept coming to my mind was, is this wishful thinking? I was in such deep grief, and I missed my son so viscerally every moment of every day. And it was so incredulous that my life had shifted so much that the first skepticism thought that kept coming in was, Lisa, are you really just wishing this to be? Is this just
Yeah.
what you want so much for this connection to be? What shifted was my son's um, lambasting me, his signs. I just got
Right.
lambasted, and I couldn't deny it after a while. And then this shift happened like a snowball. It was, is this wishful thinking? Is that really you? At the same time of, okay, I'm starting to trust this is you. It wasn't overnight. It was a gradual. And then I began to do what I read about and what I was taught, which was acknowledge what I'm seeing. I always do this and thank it, and thank you, Maddie, for showing me that and letting me know you're near me.
Listen, that's Signs from Loved Ones 101. It truly is, because one of the things that I've recognized, and when I teach it, it is always acknowledge and thank. It is always acknowledge and thank. But there's actually three parts to it, because when somebody passes, they're trying to figure out how to be dead, and we're trying to figure out how to live without them. Like, and it sounds
Yeah.
almost kind of crude to say it like that, but that's the equation. They've never done this thing before. They've never done life without body in their memory. We've never done their life without their body. So now you're working with spirit, soul, work on this. And to just, it's always keep it simple, right? They're doing that work. That's step one. You're acknowledging, you're thanking. That way they're saying, okay, I'm getting encouraged. I understand that whatever it is I'm doing to get noticed is being noticed now. So then they can refine it. They can make it more palpable. They can make it more real for you. I'm going to say the word real. But it's also that's where the healing is. The healing is where you cross that Rubicon of like, I no longer have doubt, but I trust it, and I see it within that, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So what about Daryl? I know you wanted to chime in here with some stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing you and I actually never really talked about was, I know you journaled a lot
Yeah.
after Maddie passed, and it was interesting when I first started to read your book how you would reflect on some of your early journal entries and how you really didn't remember writing certain things down, and you hoped it helped you. Did that help you put your thoughts together to write the book?
For sure. It was almost like the first
Mm,
volume.
right.
I have 6 or 7 journals filled. And I don't know what propelled me to begin to write them down. And I was so happy that I did, because I wanted to remember every single
Mm,
piece that happened. And sometimes it would happen in the middle of the night. And I started to keep pen and paper even by my bedside,
right.
so I could remember. And again, the ability to trust that it was connection was whatever was being said to me, or a song lyric that was being
Mm.
rolling around in my head, would stay there until I wrote it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna hang a hook on this one right here. So the repetition thing, step one. Step two, it wouldn't let go until you acknowledged and thanked it. And part of that is also writing it down. I mean, that's one of the ways to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge and thank
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What were some of the
Yeah.
songs? I need to hear the songs. I need to
I have like 10 pages of song lyrics.
give us one.
Um,
Give us something fun.
Time is on your side. Yes, it is.
Mm,
That
So,
was one.
so is that the Stones?
Yeah.
yep.
You
So
can't tell.
We talked about our lovely singing
listen,
voices
I won't
earlier.
sing anymore.
listen, this podcast was almost called Kia Miserable. So, we're good. We're good. We're okay. But Lisa, it's funny though. Did Maddie have a connection to that song? Or was it
She's
more of like, this is in your journey and then it gets see, this is the stuff I love, because it's like, this is something specific to you. You love this song growing up at whatever time it is that you heard it, and then it ends up over here because Maddie knows
yeah.
this is a song mom's going to love. So, I mean, what do you attribute that particular song? Like, what did that song tell you?
This lyric came as a way to soothe my heart. You know, I'm a type of person who, when I start to discover something, I go full force into it and I want it now. And so this was in response to grief. Time is on your side, Mom. Allow for that.
Yeah.
So
It's
the
how,
message was really like, hey,
Right.
you don't have to figure this out today.
right. In fact, you don't have to figure anything out, Mom. We've got you.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen.
Yeah.
Nothing like having your kid tell you to be quiet from the other side. Right? Like, you know, their act of rebellion was, you know, it was kind of right out of the gate. And you know, it's this journey that I think is why you wrote the book, because I really genuinely think, and I want to bring up the actual cover here, as I make sure that I don't cover the cover. There's rules. Let's follow them. You know, the way that I think that people find help, so to speak, through their journey is an important thing for me, because it's a destiny thing. Like, you were meant to kind of go through this in one way or another. How was writing the book cathartic for you? How did that really kind of, like, you know, just like you're mentioning the song, you had to write it down. Did you find the same thing with your book?
I did. I did find it cathartic, and I found it peaceful. It's almost like it lived inside of me and it needed to come out. And it needed to come out to articulate the unbelievable experience that
Yeah.
I have had, um, both before the death of my son, then the death of my son, and then this building of a new communication system and a new way of being together with him across the veil. It needed to be put into and compiled into an articulate form so I could not only go through it myself, but I could share it with others. And I know that people are going to relate. I know they
Oh
are.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And there's a part in your book where you actually talk about Maddie is just as much the author as you are. And I think that is
I
very
love that.
profound. Yeah, incredibly profound.
That's true channeling. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I do. I do know it's through channeling. I asked my spirit guides along the way to teach me about channeling and what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And of course, meditation for me is the way to access. And before I would write, which could feel very overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
even though, I mean, when I journaled, it wasn't in articulate form
Mm-hmm.
per se. So being able to move into meditation and access the story um, through the channeling um, was really amazing. I mean, Maddie likes to come through the words of others if I don't listen. So
Oh, so it's kind of like funny you should say that in a way.
yes, yes,
Listen, listen, I love everything about this, because I think you also have this genuine, you know, thing, you know, where you and I intersect on this is, you know, I've been in the pursuit of trying to figure out how to explain it to people to help them. You went through it. You tangibly went through it, which is the best example I can pull from now. And to see it, you know, you spent time on, okay, I'm going to work with spirit. You know, you take a mediumship class and, you know, like, this is how you deliver, this is whatever. You're like, I just want to have a conversation with spirit. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that was a different beat for me for a bunch of reasons. The most important part was that you were doing this work before Maddie passed. So it's almost like you knew that you needed this tool in your toolkit, whether it was to help, clients as a therapist. You were a career therapist. You were somebody doing counseling for years.
Parent
Um,
coach, yeah, parent coach.
yeah, and parent coaching. So you're in the advice business, so to speak, but you're in the I want to be conscious about it. I just don't want to read something out of a book and say, here you go. I want to tailor it to them. Now you're tailoring your journey to you. And you're seeing it from the standpoint of this is real, this is tangible, this is Maddie. And you do it time and again, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about this book for you. So
thank
excited
you.
about this book for you.
The unfolding, um, the experience that I was gifted, really, um,
Mhm.
the unfolding of it all, taking classes, reading avidly, getting everything I can get
Yeah.
my hands on, um, working with you, Brandon, as a mentor to be able to access.
Yeah.
The way that it unfolded is now happening to those around me who have been on this journey with me. It is the
Mm,
coolest thing. It's the reverberation, like
Right.
the stone in the pond and the
amazing.
concentric circles. And they're starting to tell me, guess what happened? I had my own treasure hunt. Oh my God, look at this sign that I had. And
It
I love that.
and
Yeah.
and and listen, I give you full credit on this. You didn't, as much as I appreciate that we worked together, you also knew when you were like, okay, B, I got what you had to say. I got to go get 5 other opinions now. Like that to me it was the most healthy thing. I don't think you realized how much you helped me in that moment, because one of the things that I realized as a teacher, no matter what it was teaching, whether it was astrology, whether it was, tarot, whether it was mediumship, whether it was intuition, whether it was, well, it didn't matter. I found that people didn't always take it and build on it. And that was a struggle for me. I'm like, how do I help them get there? You did it seamlessly. You were just like, okay, B, I got your perspective. I've got to go work with this person now. I've got to go work with this person. And it was the most
Mm,
healthy thing I've ever seen, both for you and me, because I was like, oh, thank goodness I didn't need that part of it. But I also think that when you are driven the way that you're driven after loss matters. And I think that grief can be a tremendous motivator. And I see people, do things in grief that, the rule of thumb with grief is for the next 3 months, just grieve. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't write your book in the middle of the night and, produce it as a manifesto. Sit with it, let it develop. Like, you have to go through a process. How did you develop your process for grief? We now know some of the tools, but talk about the process. What did you try at first? Might not have worked. What are some of the things that you had to refine, and where did you find these inspirations?
In the beginning, the inspiration came from my yoga training and my yoga and
Yeah.
meditation training, which is just breathe.
mm,
There's a lot of sayings surrounding what to do when you're in such deep sorrow, one day at a time, or, some of these lovely sayings. But for
Mhm.
me, it was one breath at a time. This is
Mhm.
all I can manage.
Oh,
yeah.
Is one breath at a time. And I don't know how long that lasted, but it lasted for quite a while. Um, I had to go within and feel the breath in me. That helped me in the beginning. Um, Therapy, of course, grief counseling was
mhm.
supportive. There was some treacherous trauma, so that needed to be worked through. And reading. Um, I started to become desperate right away to know where my son was on the other side and was he okay. I felt like he had just gone to elementary school, and it's the quintessential mother question of, did he play with somebody on the playground, and did somebody sit with him at
Right.
lunch, and
Yeah.
did he know where his book bag was? Well, I had all of that with Maddie on the other side, and I started to worry? Did I teach him enough? Did he have enough knowledge? What was this all about? So what propelled me was to start to see what other moms had done, with which to understand those initial fears and the one breath at a time.
One thing
Yeah.
I also like that you write a lot about walking your dog
Yeah.
and how that was very therapeutic for you. It gave you time to kind of be alone with your grief, but be with this loyal companion of
Yeah.
yours. Yeah. And
That was
that,
that. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for
mhm,
reminding me of that. Walking has always brought me solace. And I think that there's a meditative place in walking. You can allow your mind to just free flow. It's where I started to get my first signs,
mhm.
um, and experience that. Uh, Walking and moving is a necessity for me. I'm kind of a nutsy person, so
Mm.
Yeah,
um, yeah, walking, breathing,
the basics, right?
Y-
yeah,
Yeah, having just gone through that, going through, loss, I started walking again like I had never done before. And I was never against it, but I was just like, I didn't carve time. And I'm like, well, I can't do the stuff to keep my head in the game today. So I'm going to do something else. And I would go find a waterfall.
yeah,
I would have a thing I would walk to. I would have a thing I would participate in. I'd do a trail. Whatever. But I found that I spent more time outside
yeah.
during this time than I have in a long time. And I found that I've needed to kind of reconnect in that way. What are some of the things that you've kind of learned to reconnect with, through this journey of loss?
Reconnect with the idea of self.
Mm,
Mm,
Um, when I started to connect with my spirit guides and I would ask for advice of how I should proceed, how can I move through this part of grief? How can I establish more connection? Their advice was always eloquent and maybe said in a different way, always had the same theme. And that was go within, be still, be quiet, feed your own soul,
mm,
mm,
look to uh, establish sense of calm in yourself is always
mm,
step one. And as busy people, we tend to forget that. We tend to move forward, plow forward, look to others, help others, support others, and we forget about ourselves. I really reconnected with that with a new attitude, I have to say. And the new attitude was that that's a really worthy cause.
yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Because I think when you start to go down a path of, it's kind of like, it sounds hokey to say it like this, but it's like loss and resurrection,
Mm,
where you lose them, but then you have to go through this
yeah,
squirrely, whirly world of,
yeah,
seeing their book bag and going, do they, oh my gosh, I should probably run this to school. Oh, and second of all, like he was a young man. He wasn't in kindergarten anymore. So where that grief hits puts you in different places in your
yeah.
life. And it also helps you analyze that thing of like, did I do enough?
Mhm.
Did I do these things? And, as a parent coach, did you find that maybe, and again, without obviously specifics, but did you find situations that you were helping people and coaching people in where they were dealing with loss in the family on some level, and then that affected their parenting? How do you think that those experiences helped you in there?
Loss for sure, and perhaps implicit or explicit grief of what they thought their parent child relationship would be.
Mm,
Mm, yeah.
Um, we all have expectation when we decide to become parent, and then we are. Um, and then, it's unwritten when the path becomes unwritten and off
mm,
course. there's grief in that. Grief is a beast, and it really does show up in more ways than just a loss of a loved one.
Right.
Grief is huge. It could be a loss of a job. It could be a loss of an outcome or an expectation that we have for ourselves or for the way something should go. It's huge.
Yeah.
Grief is a beast.
Yeah.
That one's going to sit with me.
Mhm.
And I think your book is really going to help people along in that. And and again, Lisa, when
Yeah.
in that scenario, understanding that this was inspired from bottom to top here. And I mean, even the cover, I know that was a thing for you guys to kind of sift through too.
Yeah, I adore this cover. I mean, absolutely adore it. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the images on there?
I sure can. So this is designed by my nephew, Evan Fila, who is a budding graphic design artist. And he and Maddie had a really beautiful, special cousin relationship. When I was thinking about the cover, my life is I get to go into meditation and ask my mom for advice. And so I asked her for advice about how I should proceed with the cover, and she said, keep it in the family. So I called my nephew and I asked if he would be interested in designing the book cover, and he was, of course, thankfully. Treasure Hunts is the name that describes the compilation of these stories. Each is an individual treasure hunt.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that style of reading.
It is easy to digest, I have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's also, I mean, somebody like me, it's like, if I'm peeling back and forth, if you tell me I've got a page and a half to read, 3 pages, I can get through it.
Yeah.
I can barrel through that. And then, because I feel like there's a tick mark of me like accomplishing when I read 4 of those stories. I know it's only like 14 pages, but I read 4 stories. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's kind of like, I mean, I wish you'd done it in crayon, but whatever. It's all good. You're a professional. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. So,
he's the first thing that he and I did is we went into the records section of a big bookstore and we looked at album covers, and he asked me a whole bunch of questions about what I liked about particular album covers, and that's how he got his inspiration. The lacrosse stick is Maddie played lacrosse most of his life. He was a goalie. The feathers that come off it are from a dream catcher theme. Dream catchers were big in our family who dream vividly. The clouds, Evan described as giving it a sense of where Maddie resides. And the dotted lines are connection and connectivity. You'll see in the A of Treasure Hunts is a paw print.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Our first dog's name was Bear, and paw prints, when he crossed over the Rainbow Bridge, became a really big symbol in our family. And Maddie on his lacrosse helmet had a paw print. He carried it with him always. In fact, Maddie was intuitive. Bear would join him in times of stress. And that was something that just felt very natural to Maddie. And again, became very significant. You'll see in the book, we actually have tattoos.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I love the dotted line because it reminded me of like Family Circle. Remember those cartoons where he would like gallivant all through the neighborhood, and then you would be like, and then somebody would ask him like, "What did you do today?" And he'd be like, "Oh, nothing." Meanwhile, he was, walking in and out of the neighbor's, house and eating their brownies or whatever crazy stuff the kid did. By the way, I can't name a single character in Family Circle, but
I can picture the whole thing.
The whole
Yeah.
thing, exactly.
I don't think anybody knows a character's
Yeah, I
name.
think,
Well,
yeah,
I love that you say that, because I think that each person is going to have their own feeling. The energy is going to come through for them and what it means to them. And that's the point of all this.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, listen, we want to make sure that people know that it's available, and we are very proud at 10th House Publishers to be publishing this
We
out there
are.
for you. We provide self-help tools for self-publishers. We not only get your book right, but we get it out there, and we want to tell your story. So if you're interested in sharing your story, Daryl is our editor. And Daryl, when is this going to be available, and where can we find it?
This is actually going to be available tomorrow,
Which is what
September
date?
18th,
Okay.
and it's available on Amazon and Ingram Spark. So, yes, please visit both of those. We will have links on our website, and we will provide Lisa links to put on her socials as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think that when we kind of get really rolling with having authors like Lisa, I am so proud. Like, we've had really good authors on board here, and they all go through their particular journeys and their what have you. And they're, you've got to remember too that we're like a home and a house for people that are both emerging as an author, but then also emerging as a process. And this is full compliment. You did both of them on such a level that it's an inspiration across the board, not only to people that have had loss and need to learn it, but also authors that are trying to get their story out. You know, you didn't rush it. I mean, you've been at this
Right.
here for a few years. You didn't rush it. You took the time. You backed up when you needed to. You know, it's a blessing across the board, because what you're doing and what you're recognizing is, okay, you've had a loss and you're willing to help other people. You inadvertently became a great author at the same time. So sometimes when you lose something and you have to go through it,
Yeah.
another thing shows up. And this is perfect point in case that's, you know, something to do. And I think that this is a great tool guide. I would assume you would work with your, you know, with your clients and when you speak and everything else to say, here you go. But I think even in a vacuum, to pick up the book and read it kind of cover to cover and be like, these are experiences I have. This is finally articulating it. You're also giving permission for people to heal when they go through this. Do you feel like that's part of your mission with it? Or is it something that you're like, well, Brandon, this is the first I've heard of it?
No, the permission to heal, that's very well said. Again, it's opening your mind to possibility.
Sure.
Those who read it who really don't have much of an understanding of signs and connection and the communication that can be established, and the bonds that are never broken. Openness and willingness to this being a possibility. And for those who are in deep grief, you know, I see you, I feel you, I get you. Opening their minds to the possibility of the soothing that can come with the knowledge that you're not alone and they haven't gone anywhere is really profound for me. And I hope it dribbles some sparkles onto others as well.
Yeah, I think it articulates in such a way that if you are going through it, to hear from somebody that had just gone through it, especially the loss of a child. I mean, I think it's applicable for anything, but that is, you know, that's an experience I don't have. That's an experience that most people don't have. And then when you do meet people that have been through it, they haven't done the work leading up to it that you did. So you really are your own treasure in this, because you are the very rare circumstance where you had a conceptualization before it even happened. And even the work that you were doing with Maddie, and I won't get too personal with this, you felt really akin to walk him through certain things in life that developed a bond between the two of you. That inadvertently you're like, wow, I'm so glad we had that time together. And that's why I just want to reinforce how unique you are in this space, because you had these tools and you had these gifts ready to go, and you did believe in all of it beforehand. Like, that's the other thing. I see the conversion rate. I worked with a gentleman who was really good, and he became a grief counselor. He just focused in on bereavement, but it wasn't until he lost his daughter that he had to kind of wrap his head around it. He thought crystals were nonsense. He thought spiritualism was whatever. He was also a counselor in a jail. So he kind of had this kind of rough edge about it. When he lost his daughter, he's like, I had to start all over again. Yeah. And that's who I learned a lot of the signs from loved ones, signs from nature, signs from, circumstances. He still wasn't a big fan of numbers, but I think numbers come through a lot too, because they're the simplest denominator, right? Whether it's a birthday or whether it's 1111 or whether it's 222. There are things that, you can do the work beforehand, sort of. But the way you did it was it's almost like there's a path of this to help other people that you didn't even know, but now that you've written it, it's in your hands. Where do you want to go with this?
Oh, gosh. When I asked that question to my mom and my spirit guides, I kind of get my hand slapped. I will go with wherever it takes me. I am completely open. Maddie really has a message, and he'd like me to spread the word through me and through this book and whatever genre comes about, which is love is eternal.
Yeah.
Connection transcends the physical realm, and is very, very possible. That's his message. Love is eternal.
Right. I think when I finished the reading through it the first time, I think I emailed you and I was like, I just went through a half a box of tissues, and I'm not joking. I did.
I'm gonna share what she texted me, which was, "This book, where's the tissues? This book." And I took out one word.
It wasn't quite like that, but
you get your tissues.
Yeah,
it was, Daryl. It was close.
It was close, and I'm not one to tear up easly. Like it takes a lot.
Cold as ice, Lisa. Cold as ice.
This heart. I don't know if it's actually working. No, but even with the little bit of loss that I've had in my life does not compare to yours. I could feel all of your emotions, but I could feel your connection with Maddie as I read it. I could feel him, like, when you talk about Bam Bam, and it was like, oh my God, like, he's trying so hard. And you're like, is that you? Is that you? But there were parts that made me laugh. There were parts that I think people can sit and nod and be like, yes, I have felt that. Like, you go through all of the emotions and your growth as you move through the stages, and it's such a beautiful story. It really is.
And I think you used, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you used repetition really well in that book.
Oh.
Like, really well. Like, so I love that repetition. You brought up repetition without any prompts at all. And there were times, that, like, when you're reading content editing and that sort of thing, you tend to go like, okay, like, how does this play? What does the reader think? Like, we put our shoes in the reader's, shoes. But, it's kind of like, why did Tolstoy write, novels of great length? Because he was trying to talk about the toil of time. Like, you're stuck in it, right? You repeated things very consciously for somebody to say, and here it is again, and here it is again. Are you paying attention? Are you doing this? And that's what, from a literary standpoint, that's why this is so good. Mm-hmm. Because even though you're telling a story, and it's an open journal in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
But how it got constructed, intentional or not, the play here is like, if you're reading this, somebody could get frustrated to be like, well, didn't you just say that? Well, of course you did, because that is what this process is.
Mhm.
Maddie is showing it to me over and over again.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What signs did Maddie show you today?
He said, release.
Last night.
He said, release it. At first, I thought he meant the nerves, but he meant the book. Just release it. I continuously get reminded from my son and my loved ones and my spirit guides in a simplicity way. Just simple. Just release it. What are you doing?
Yeah, I
Stop overthinking.
I think within grief and bereavement, one of the processes, when you talk about the five, the five stages, which are not successive, and there's really seven when you enter into a conscious model, which is, purpose and realization. But one of the things that I think that kind of go up into this are the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right?
Yeah.
The things where you sit there and you're like, oh, I should have spent 10 more minutes with him, or, I should have let him stay home that day that he said he had a bellyache. Even though you knew he was going to sit in his room and play video games, you would have been able to make him lunch.
He's chiming in right now. Like, he's saying one of the first signs that came in, the first sort of mantras for me was no mad, no sad, no bad. No mad, no sad, no bad. So when I would start to have the woulda, shoulda, coulda, why didn't I's, one of those statements would be the answer. Why didn't I spend more time with him? No bad. Oh, I should have done this during the last couple days of his life. No sad.
No.
And that message kept coming through.
That's amazing.
I couldn't for a while pass by the place we lived where he passed away, where his death occurred. I was avoiding it. And I knew I was avoiding it logically. And I knew in my other job, I was a behaviorist as well as other things. And so I knew how to break that down and deconstruct that and do that. But I was still avoiding it. Well, he came into a friend's dream and he showed her and I standing in front of the dwelling with him in the middle of us with his arms around us. And the message was no bad, no bad, no bad here. And once I received that from her, I was able to start to drive by it.
Wow.
Okay. I love everything about that. I think when people have their experiences, it's a good telling the story. I hear people's stories all the time, right? It's what I do. And one of the things that I find that people need to get over first and foremost is that ego part that shoulda, coulda, woulda thing. But the no bad part of it that you're saying is so helpful because, first of all, to be slightly cynical about it, like it doesn't matter now.
Well, right.
You can't go back. You can't change it. To be positive about it, it worked out the way it was supposed to for a whole host of reasons. Next, but certainly not least, is the idea that now you have something to kind of like swing a rope from. Like, and by the way, he was connecting you and that friend. He was also saying to the friend, reach out to my mom. Right?
That's what he does if I don't listen. He'll plunk somebody.
That's amazing to me. And there's different little instances in the book, but his ability to connect so many people, that to me is incredible. And it's almost breathtaking because I haven't heard that, and Brandon, I'm sure you hear it a lot, but you don't hear about spirits connecting with so many different people. Usually it's like a handful, right? Maybe, or one or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, his connection just seems to be so broad.
I
And it
actually,
was,
yeah, I think it happens often, but I don't think people communicate it.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay, that
sense?
makes
But yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lisa, where were you going
well, I
with
was
this?
going to say that's how his essence here when he was
Mm.
in the physical realm was just that, Daryl, what you described. And
Okay.
on the other side, it's coming through that
It's
way.
carrying over.
Sometimes I'll be standing, I'll go
Mm.
to this happened. I was driving home and I know what my exit is off the Northway and I missed it. I missed it. I never miss my exit.
It
And so I went
happens.
to the next one and I had to Google map and where am I? And then I of course, I was late and I ended up stopping at a Stewart's off the beaten path from this other exit because I was very, very thirsty. And I get to the cashier and I pay for my water and the change is exactly $18, and of course 18 is, you'll read in the book, is a very um, special number in connection. And she said, it's so interesting, the person just before you gave me these $18 and now I'm giving you these $18, and
Come
what is
on,
it with 18? And I knew that was from Maddie.
Lisa,
Right.
10 out of 10 on that story.
Wow.
So these are
Amazing.
the types of stories you're going to find in
Yeah,
Treasure Hunts by Lisa
yeah.
Frankel. And you can contact her at shiningsoulconnections.com for any parent coaching and anything else about the book as well. Highly, highly encourage it. And listen, guys, I want to thank you for being, here on the Extra Optimistic podcast. To summarize this one, this is a great summary of connecting the dots if you have ever lost someone and who hasn't lost somebody.
Mm.
This is about your personal journey through bereavement and understanding grief for yourself, understanding how all the connective points come together so that then he's still very much alive in your heart.
Mm.
And the couple of times I met Maddie, and full disclosure, I always give full disclosure.
Yeah.
The kid was a light. He was just a good kid. He was figuring it out. He got a promotion. Literally, when you told me what had happened, in my mind, completely inappropriate to say it to somebody that just lost their son, but in my mind, I thought he got a promotion.
That's
He was trying to
awesome.
find an identity through work. He was trying to find an identity through being an entrepreneur and all of this stuff. He became your business partner.
I love that.
Who knew that that could happen?
Right. Right.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
We do work together now.
Yeah. You
It's
guys are just as connected as you were on the
And
physical plane.
and it's an elevation. Like I said, he got promoted.
yeah.
He's able to say, like, hey, I'm going to go do this and you're going to pay attention. I'm going to augment your skills and ability by doing something that's unique so that then you can have a different perspective. But now you're the mouthpiece.
I
And
am the mouthpiece.
all of a sudden, it all makes sense, right?
Very well said. Yes, he calls me the mouthpiece. The in
Oh,
between,
does
the
he
go
really?
between. He does. He calls me the mouthpiece.
Wait, is that in the book?
I don't think it is.
I
It in
don't
the
think
book,
so.
Daryl? I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
But
No.
that's what he calls me. And then
Well,
I said, the mouthpiece. Maybe he'll come up with something nicer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
A
he
little
wants
more
me to be the
refined.
mouthpiece.
for a lacrosse goalie, your mouthpiece is very important.
Oh, well, that's true.
By the way, do you still have some of his like mouth guards somewhere?
I do, of course. Yeah.
You can get rid of those. He just said it.
Oh.
There's three of them. There's
Yes,
three of them in a pile, right?
yes.
He's literally saying, "Ma, just throw those out. Like I'll get you something else."
Oh, fine.
Listen. Dried spit doesn't age well. Okay? I don't mean to be gross here, but the kid, his save rate was 97%. Like he's a good goalie. Those mouth guards, served its purpose. You can let that go. Hang the jersey, keep the helmet, put paw prints everywhere. Ma, you don't need the mouth guard. Be the mouthpiece.
Okay.
He's literally talking about the mouthpiece with me. How about that?
That's so funny.
And can I ask a weird question? Did he have a tooth change that he had to get different mouth guards?
Um,
Like almost like he got a cap or a crown or something like
oh, well,
that.
he had significant dental work. Yes.
He's
Correct.
talking about how he has 2 sets of guards.
Okay. This I may not have been aware of, but I'm going to go look.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to say it like this. He's like, yeah, they're in my drawer.
Yeah.
You've got a drawer you haven't touched. You're almost
Well,
afraid to look.
yeah.
By the way,
Well,
every
they are
parent,
good.
every parent with a son has a drawer you don't want to look in.
I was just going to say, you might want to keep that closed.
And you're just going to find a
Things
couple
might have
of
multiplied.
dried up, crusty mouth guards.
Awesome. That's
But,
awesome.
but that's how he's showing it to me, and I think that that's in part some validation. But then also, he doesn't need those anymore because he's now working with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. That's amazing.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for being a part of things here. And again, make sure that you tune in, like, and subscribe if you're seeing this on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to everything, whether you're hearing it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. So heart taps, guys, to everybody out there. Remember that life is a journey, and you are meant to keep going. Thanks so much for being part of my journey here. Daryl, thanks for joining us. Lisa,
Thank
wonderful
you.
book. Can't wait to put this in
Thank
the hands
you.
of other people. And be sure to check out some of my shows coming up. Lisa will be at them signing books. True story. We'll see you guys soon. All right. Keep